Exclusive contract novel from Feilu Novel Network. De Qin. Summoning Qingwei Daochang at the beginning. Rebirth of the comprehensive martial arts De Qin, becoming the soon-to-be enthroned Prince Ying Zheng. It was supposed to drive the iron cavalry to sweep the Hangu Pass and unify the world in Qin. But the system told him that this was a world of comprehensive martial arts, with Wudang, Shaolin, demonic sects, and Mingjiao. At this moment, the summoning system was awakened. Ying Zheng has decided that while you are practicing martial arts, I will summon immortals. Qingwei Taoist. Every mortal has one death, only His Majesty will live forever. Bad Handsome Yuan Tiangang. The world is vast, the king is the greatest. Under the king, the worst is the worst. Xiaoren Tuesday. Under the command of my king, ride a heavy snow dragon and push across the 6 kingdoms. Su Huanzhen. Half god, half saint, and half immortal. All Confucianism and all Taoism are all virtuous. Summon the immortals, come to the court from all over the world, and build the Immortal Qin Empire. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Emperors of all heavenly kings and gods. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the late Warring States period. Yongqing, Qinian Palace. King Ying Zheng of Qin, who ascended the throne for 8 years, will hold a grand ceremony of personal governance tomorrow. Truly in charge of Daqin. Night filled the air, and Ying Zheng sat up from the bed, his gaze somewhat blurred. He didn't expect to travel across time. And he became the first emperor who had never been before, never came after, had both virtue and 3 emperors, and had meritorious deeds over the 5 emperors. He is also the hegemon who swept across the 6 countries and unified the world. However, at this time, the Great Qin Empire was not the later Great Qin Empire. At this moment, the 7 countries are not yet unified. Ying Zheng is not the first emperor who suppressed me like the sun in the sky. But rather Ying Zheng, who was just preparing to take power. Although he ascended the throne for 8 years. However, Ying Zheng has very little power in his hands. Only a few people can be trusted. Even the previous 8 years of Ying Zheng's layout can truly be relied on. But it's just some outsiders, for example, Wang Jian, Meng Tian, Meng Yi. It is precisely these people. Under coercion, this pro-political ceremony emerged. Only then did Liu Bui plan to return politics to Ying Zheng, at least openly returning politics. Instead of letting Ying Zheng continue to become a puppet. Ascending the throne for 8 years, hiding for 8 years. Only for one dynasty's personal governance. Ying Zheng's heart was heavy. This kind of pressure, this kind of oppression. He can clearly feel that emotion. If it weren't for Ying Zheng's obedience since he ascended the throne, Liu Bui wouldn't have easily let Ying Zheng take power, would he? However, since he has traveled through time, Ying Zheng naturally will not lose the reputation of the first emperor. Future. He wants to make the Great Qin everlasting and even establish the Immortal Qin Empire. Just it's difficult to achieve this. It's not just a threat from Liu Bui and the 6 countries, but also a different world. This world is not an ordinary historical world. But it's Xianwu Daqin. Beyond the 6 kingdoms, not only were there Xiongnu and Baiyue, but also Turks and Dali who were eyeing the enemy. There is also an extremely chaotic world in the world. One sect after another stirred up wind and rain, causing cholera throughout the world. Even many of them are characters from previous films, martial arts novels, and more. Fortunately, however, De Qin is still a strong tiger and wolf. However, the real war is no longer just a matter of iron and silver conquering everything. This is a high martial arts world, and the martial arts level is not low. Acquired, innate, and not to mention. A master stirred up the wind and clouds. Moreover, the great master dominates the region. One land immortal is against 1,000 armies. Heaven and man are one person governing one country. High-end military force can not only determine the outcome of a great war, but also influence the rise and fall of a country. For example, in the past, Bai Qi attacked the state of Zhao. Push horizontally all the way invincible. All because Bai Qi is heaven and man. Kill the gods for nothing. Breaking through 10,000 armor in one breath, killing 400,000 troops in Chongping Pit, almost annihilating a country alone. This is the function of force. Thinking back on these things, Ying Zheng couldn't help but take a cold breath. This world is more exciting than he imagined, but also more dangerous. At this moment, a voice rang in his ear. Ding, detected host, National Transportation System is loading. Ding, loading is complete, the system is being activated. Ding, the National Transportation System has been successfully launched, the National Transportation System. My golden finger. Ying Zheng showed excitement in his eyes and a smile on his face. With the system, he truly has the foundation. Just don't know what specific role this National Transportation System has. In an instant, a wave of information was received in Ying Zheng's mind. It also made him immediately understand the role of this national summoning system. This is a summoning system that assists him in establishing the strongest movement. To establish the strongest dynasty, various talents are naturally indispensable. It can summon any person or object from the heavens and all realms. It can be a miraculous elixir. It can also be a divine treasure. It can even be immortals and monsters from all over the world. Ying Zheng's eyes lit up and he asked, how can we summon it? Ding, collecting qi can summon. The host currently has 11% qi value, and can summon once for every 5% increase. Currently, it can be summoned twice. Note: the summoned character will be completely loyal to the host. Ding, the beginner gift pack has been distributed. Do you want to collect it now? Claim it now. Ding, congratulations to the host for obtaining the Heavenly Sealing God technique. This technique is divided into 3 layers. The sun and moon shine together, the heaven and earth live together, and all living beings are united, directly pointing to the origin, without the need for special cultivation, control the hearts of the mountains, rivers, society, and people. Do you want to practice immediately? Practice. Ying Zheng did not hesitate. This world is so chaotic and dangerous. Moreover, the internal stability of the Great Qin was also unstable, with major enemies such as Ai and Lv Bue. He naturally needs to seize the time to improve his strength. Moment the divine sealing technique of the emperor emerged in Ying Zheng's mind. What is the title of Emperor Fengshen? It is to absorb the national fortune and faith, and infinitely improve one's own character. This is not a cultivation method at all. But it's a divine ability, it's a great way. Ying Zheng doesn't need to practice either. He just needs to sit high on the throne and let the fortune of the great Qin country wash over his body to improve his cultivation. Even the general outline of the heavenly god sealing technique is already extremely clear. Serving the heavens, suppressing mountains and rivers, operating the stars, conferring titles to gods, and transforming the world. But if you want to wear a crown, you must bear its weight. Once the great Qin was destroyed, Ying Zheng would also die suddenly. However, how could he possibly cause the downfall of Qin? On the contrary, Ying Zheng is even more determined to make the great Qin dynasty forever prosperous and even immortal. In an instant, Ying Zheng began to operate the heavenly god sealing technique, absorbing the qi of the great Qin dynasty. In an instant, the fortunes of the Qin dynasty for hundreds of years converged towards him. In an instant, Ying Zheng's blood and energy surged all over his body, making a loud noise. The 3 treasures of essence, energy, and spirit merged into one, and it grew incredibly huge. The powerful Yuan Qi is about to penetrate through the body. Every move and gesture is filled with a surging force. With a loud bang, a majestic aura emanated from him, overlooking the earth, proud of the common people. At this moment, Ying Zheng seemed to have become the ruler of heaven and earth. Chapter 2. Qingwei Daochang, Heaven and Man Reborn. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. At this moment, Ying Zheng seems to dominate the world. But Ying Zheng quickly regained consciousness and did not remain silent in that supreme aura. That's just an illusion of a sudden increase in power. His strength is not actually that strong. System. Brushing it, a light curtain that only he could see popped up. Host. Ying Zheng, age 21, realm. In the early days of the Grandmaster. Qi Yun progress. Qi Yun controls 11%. Summoner. None. This is the strength of Ying Zheng at this time. Instant master. If outsiders were to know, this news would definitely be shocking to the world. No one has ever achieved this since ancient times. Even if a genius rose to fame, it took 10 years to become a master. But Ying Zheng was just an instant. But compared to the God-sealing technique, this is a weak explosion. And the national fortune of the Qin dissipated in just 1 minute. Ying Zheng frowned and said, shouldn't the great Qin have only this little national fortune? After 6 generations of hard work. What a huge fortune this should be. But now, it's so rare. Immediately, Ying Zheng's eyes narrowed and he also understood. 11% control of Qi luck. No wonder the divine sealing technique of the emperor did not allow him to step into the realm of heaven and humanity. It's not that the son of heaven can't awesome. It's entirely because he doesn't have as much luck as the great Qin himself. In an instant, Ying Zheng clarified his main purpose for the future. Take over the power and completely control the fortune of the great Qin. It's just that the matter of rights collection is simple to say. He has always been the most legitimate heir of the Qin state. The great power of the Qin state is there, it depends on whether he is qualified enough to control it. But this is actually difficult. The first one to bear the brunt is the Marquis of Changxin. This person falsely claimed to be Ying Zheng's fake father and colluded with Empress Dowager Zhao Ji, wielding immense power and controlling the court. It also attracts 3,000 followers and has a strong influence. It's difficult to deal with. But thinking of these, Ying Zheng suddenly remembered. In history, on the day when Ying Zheng took power, Ai attempted to assassinate him and openly rebelled. Although the world is different, some things are interconnected. That is to say, tomorrow the plague will rebel and kill me. If you want to kill me, I will first kill the Ai, and then barbarize its 9 tribes. However, it is not easy to kill the virus. Especially for Ying Zheng at this moment. Except for a few trusted eunuchs and palace maids, he had no soldiers at his disposal. Relying on these people to kill malaria is simply fantastic. Ying Zheng naturally wouldn't be so childish, but he wouldn't sit idly by. He looked directly at the system. Now only the system can help him. Qi luck can be summoned once with only 5%. The summoned items can be items or characters. But at this moment, what Ying Zheng hopes for the most is the character. Although he is the king of Qin, he currently has no reliable helper. This does not mean that there is really no one available in the Great Qin dynasty. On the contrary, the Great Qin dynasty did not lack loyal officials and fierce generals. Loyal officials such as the Mong and Wang clans. But these people are only loyal to Qin, not to him Ying Zheng. As for Zhao Gao around him, he is not very useful. Thinking of these, Ying Zheng took a deep breath and pinned his hope on the system summoning. System, summon once. Ding, start summoning. Summoning completed in an instant, Ying Zheng's eyes suddenly burst into endless golden light. Gold. This is. Ignoring the dazzling light, Ying Zheng stared at the system with wide eyes. I saw a small word floating in my sight. Congratulations to the host for summoning the character. Master Qingwei of Shu Mountain Qingwei Taoist. Fairy Sword. Ying Zheng was instantly ecstatic. Surprisingly, it's Taoist Qingwei. He never expected such an amazing existence to appear on the first summon. This luck is simply against the sky. What strength does Qingwei Daochang have in the mountains of Shu? Ying Zheng is not sure. But at this moment, there is a clear indication of the strength of Taoist Qingwei. Master Qingwei. Heavenly and human strength. Martial arts are prevalent in this world. Strength can be roughly divided into acquired, innate, master, great master, land immortals, and heavenly beings. The strength of Qingwei Taoist is even the pinnacle of heaven and humanity. Even more than that. Because Taoist Qingwei was able to fight against the top demon Lord Chonglu in the 6 realms without losing, his strength was simply beyond comprehension. In an instant, Ying Zheng's heart was filled with confidence. Brush. In the next moment, an old man wearing a Taoist robe suddenly appeared in front of him. Chicken skin and crane hair, even the beard has turned white, and the whole person looks sagging old. But his eyes were full of vicissitudes, his spirit was restrained, and he wore a warm smile on his face. It's very fairy-like. Poor Dao, see the king. Qingwei Dao nodded with a smile and saluted. Taoist, I'm not getting a gift. Ying Zheng smiled and said, I still need to trouble Taoist to protect me thoroughly in the future. This is nature, said Master Qingwei with a faint smile. Since I was summoned by the great king, I know what I should and shouldn't do. And this is actually another human world, interesting. After speaking, Qingwei Daochang shook the dust and looked around with great interest. Taoism advocates in action. Being unmoved by all things. Even if suddenly summoned, one must remain loyal to Ying Zheng. Qingwei Taoist did not have any waves, but rather remained indifferent. He truly deserves to be a person who can chat and laugh with the demon Lord Chonglu. With the success of Qingwei Taoist, Ying Zheng's summoning enthusiasm greatly increased. Without saying much to Taoist Qingwei, Ying Zheng took a deep breath and said, System, start the second summon. The first time was with Qingwei Daochang. I don't know what will come out of this second summon. Is it a person or an object? Chapter 3. Summoning again, feathers bloom. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding, start summoning. Summoning. The summoning is over once again, endless purple bloomed before Ying Zheng's eyes. But this purple light doesn't flash like a golden light just now. But it flickered for 10 seconds before it ended. Is the purple light even stronger than Qingwei Daochang this time? Ying Zheng was filled with anticipation in his heart, and his character wouldn't explode like that of a demon lord, right? That would really skyrocket, but soon, a hint flashed across his gaze again. Congratulations to the host, summon your power. The bad Handsome Yuan Tiangang. 3 Tiangang, swordsman Lu Linxian, 3,000 wicked people, please select a location for placement by the host. There are so many people summoned this time that it is impossible to summon them directly in one breath. Even Ying Zheng was extremely surprised. How could a force be summoned? But there was also some regret in an instant. What a scene would it be if it were not just summoning Qingwei Taoist just now, but directly summoning the entire Shu Mountain. Thousands of sword immortals, it's easy to push the 6 kingdoms horizontally. However, Ying Zheng was just thinking about it. Not to mention whether it can be summoned, even if it is summoned, it may not necessarily be able to push the 6 countries horizontally. In his memory, Bai Qi has already been a celestial being, but in the end, there is still no unified 6 kingdoms. Even the state of Zhao was not destroyed. Land immortals have a lifespan of 500. Heaven and man have 1,000 years of lifespan. I have never heard of a celestial being falling in this world. There are too many hidden immortals visible in the dark. Not to mention the old monsters that may appear in the world of martial arts, let's just talk about Daqin. There are old immortals like Beimingzi and Guguzi. These people all have the cultivation of heaven and humanity. Ying Zheng's thinking diverged, but he arranged, summon Yuan Tiangang, San Tiangang, and swordsman Lu Linxian, while the rest of the people are temporarily suspended from summoning. The idea has just fallen. A burst of white light flashed through the brush. The villainous and handsome Yuan Tiangang, Tian Lixing Yang's uncle, Tian Jiexing Wen Tao, Tian Meteorite Lu Yojie, and the villainous first female swordsman Lu Linxian all appeared in front of him. These people are all characters in the world of bad people. Among them, the one that Ying Zheng valued the most was naturally Yuan Tiangang, the heavenly Kuei star. This person was the commander of an unscrupulous person, with 1 person below and 10,000 people above, wielding power over the court and the opposition. He is known as the national teacher. But sincerely devoted to the country, with careful thinking, it is simply unfathomable. This is very helpful for Ying Zheng to take charge of the Great Qin. It would be better to have Yuan Tiangang and 3,000 unscrupulous people to deal with the 3,000 disciples of Qi Ai, and most importantly, Yuan Tiangang has this ability. He swept his gaze over the 4 people in front of him, instantly showcasing their strength. Yuan Tiangang is the pinnacle of land immortals, and all 3 major Tiangang are the pinnacle of his master. As for Lu Linxian, he is also the pinnacle of his master. For the current Ying Zheng, he is also considered an extremely powerful helper. Although unable to compare with Qingwei Daochang. But the role of unscrupulous people is much greater. Especially as he looked at Yuan Tiangang wearing a mask, Ying Zheng laughed even more. He remembered that Yuan Tiangang could use astrology to pray for national fortune. Being cold-blooded and not achieving one's goals is even more ruthless. At the beginning, it was predicted that the Tang dynasty would fall, and even if it was a fight with friends, they would not hesitate to reveal the truth. Unfortunately, the Tang dynasty did not take it seriously. But he doesn't know. Farewell to the king. Yuan Tiangang, Lu Linxian, and others all fell to the ground. Nowadays, there is no wicked person in my Great Qin. Ying Zheng's gaze was sharp and his tone was full of domineering words. I now have to wait for you to establish wicked people in this Great Qin and monitor the world. Is it possible to do so? I will never refuse to die. Yuan Tiangang answered decisively, with a smile on his lips under his cold mask. He was already infused with memory by the system at the moment he was summoned. I am already very clear about the situation in this world. It is also clear that he must devote himself wholeheartedly to Ying Zheng. Upon hearing Ying Zheng's words, Yuan Tiangang immediately smiled. If it were anything else, he dared not boast. But it's just about bringing bad people back to Qin, he can do it, and he can do it even better than before. After all, he has only done one thing in the past 300 years. Yuan Tiangang, let me ask you, how can I defeat the rebellion of Ai as it is imminent? Ying Zheng asked directly with his back in his hand. This person's mental and intellectual abilities are equally unparalleled in the world. The failure of a bad person is nothing more than meeting people improperly and causing trouble. King, it's easy for one person to eliminate the plague, but one person can kill it for the king. Yuan Tiangang's voice under the mask was hoarse and dull, it's just. Yuan Tiangang openly said, according to my memory, Ai has recruited 3,000 disciples with impressive strength. It is very likely that there are great masters, even land immortals. Why don't you wait until tomorrow to gather all the followers of the Qi faction and then capture them all in this Qi your palace? Yuan Tiangang is the pinnacle of land immortals. He has too many strong enemies, but the influence of enemies is too great. Ai falsely claimed to be Ying Zheng's fake father, relying on tiger skin is enough to do many things. Therefore, Yuan Tiangang said so. He is not afraid of killing for Ying Zheng, only afraid that he will not be able to do the best for what Ying Zheng has instructed. As for strength, Yuan Tiangang had already made a decision in his heart. His talent is unparalleled, but the upper limit of his strength in the world of villains is too low, which limits him. But as soon as he arrived in this world, he already felt different. The original shackles of strength no longer exist. In less than 5 years, he will surely be able to break through heaven and man. Chapter 4. Yuan Tiangang's Rise, Shocking the Jianghu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ying Zheng nodded lightly and agreed with the idea. Poison can be easily killed, but this time it's not just poison. But rather, we need to eliminate all the characters in the series of characters related to AI. Whether it's Zhao Ji. Still LV Bouet. Zhao Ji is the biological mother of Ying Zheng, but she is the most supportive of AI. There was no way before. Now with such an excuse, it's a good time to take action. And LV Bouet, AI is recommended by LV Bouet. This time, Ying Zheng squinted his eyes and planned to catch them all in one go. Coincidentally, it completely controls the power of Qin, annihilates the 6 states, and unifies the world. However, if we want to achieve this, it's just that these strengths are not yet reliable enough. Although Qingwei Daochang is powerful, he is only serving as a foundation. Bad people may not have low strength. It is okay to kill Gao Ai, Zhao Ji, and LV Bouet, but it is somewhat powerless against the 6 kingdoms. Even though Yuan Tiangang is the pinnacle of land immortals. But it's never heaven or humanity. Not to mention, there are at least 6 heavenly beings in the 6 countries combined. The strength under his command is still insufficient. We still need to continue improving our national fortune and summon more heavenly beings. Thinking of this, Ying Zheng directly asked the system, how can I continue to improve national luck? 5% of Qi can be summoned once. If Ying Zheng wants to enhance his luck in the future, he must take action against the martial arts world, the 6 countries, and even the entire world. But he can't rely on Master Qingwei for everything either. Moreover, with the strength of Qingwei Daochang, if he were to personally handle everything, it would also appear that his subordinates were too unmanned. Conquering and killing can enhance the national fortune of the Great Qin. Consolidating people's hearts can also enhance one's luck. The host can also collect items of Qi luck, and after offering, additional summoning can be performed. The object of Qi luck. Ying Zheng frowned. He still understood the first 2, but he was not quite sure about the object of sacrificing Qi luck that followed. Ding, inheriting classics, martial arts classics, or unparalleled treasures, all carry Qi and can be sacrificed. At the same time as the system sounded, it also transmitted some information to Ying Zheng. Ying Zheng raised his eyebrows and instantly understood. The divine sealing technique of the emperor requires the Qi of the Great Qin itself, which is related to the strength of Ying Zheng and cannot be randomly extracted. But there are many things in this world that are imbued with good luck. There are still many things that carry luck. For example, the inheritance of various schools of thought, such as the Ghost Valley inheritance and the Yin-Yang family inheritance, all have the will of the sages of each school. These naturally carry human transportation. For example, treasures such as He Sure Bai and 9 cauldrons, which have emerged as a result of the times, are also imbued with human luck due to their excessive involvement. They can all be used to sacrifice additional summoning. In an instant, Ying Zheng couldn't help but smile and thought of the collection in the Qin King's palace. After 6 generations of hard work, the collection of Qin kings throughout history must have been quite numerous. You will definitely gain a lot of Qi luck, and your strength will also increase significantly at that time. Immediately, Ying Zheng turned his head to look at Yuan Tiangang and said, how strong are the villains? Although there is a system summoning. But he couldn't summon those 3,000 wicked people one by one to check their strength. Yuan Tiangang immediately replied, report to the king. I am the pinnacle of land immortals, and all the stars in the sky are the pinnacle of my master. 300 unruly captains are innate abilities, while ordinary unruly people are all near the pinnacle of their abilities in the mid to late days. If compared to the current strength of Qinian Palace, 3,000 bad people can completely take control of Qinian Palace. Compared to taking charge of the Qinian Palace, villains are better at assassination and espionage. Upon hearing these words, Ying Zheng knew in his heart that although the level of the world of villains was not low, they were also limited in their height. If you want to score by level, it's between the low and high martial worlds. The highest figure is Yuan Tiangang, who has just entered the land Immortal Hu. But Qingwei Daochang should be considered at the level of immortal martial arts, and he himself is already extraordinary and holy. However, there is a specialization in the craft industry. Taoist Qingwei is skilled in eliminating demons and guarding the way, and is skilled in fighting. But unscrupulous people monitor the world and perform excellent espionage and assassination. Not to mention that many unscrupulous colonels have directly become undercover agents and become the second in command of various major forces. Therefore, the role of bad people in the future will inevitably be to monitor the world and intimidate the world. Just the rivers and lakes are different, and the 7 countries have distinct territories. However, the martial arts world is often chaotic and boundless. To achieve these goals, today's delinquents still fall far short. We still need someone to help. However, Ying Zheng had already made arrangements for all of this. Go and bring the attendant Zhao Gao with you. Chapter 5. Land Immortals, Zhao Gaomeng. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Yongqing. Within the mansion. Just as Ying Zheng had arranged everything in place. Zhao Gao is also arranging some things for his subordinates. Will the plague rebel tomorrow? He looked at the person in front of him in astonishment and asked. No wonder Zhao Gao was shocked. It's just that this thing is too shocking. Although AI was conferred the title of Changxin Ho. But what strength does he have? 3,000 customers. That's just a joke. There are certainly some experts among them, but at most they are only at the level of great masters. How dare you rebel even with this strength? At the end of the day, it's just a fool who relies on women to rise to power. Do you really think you can do anything? That's right. The black-clad man in front of him responded in a deep voice, should we tell LV Xiang this news? Since Zhao Gaozheng was preparing to give a natural report. But the next second, he squinted his eyes. Nowadays, although LV Buwei holds great power and leans towards the government and the opposition. But Ying Zheng, however, has reached the age of being in power. Pro-politics is the trend. No one can stop it. Even though LV Buwei has been the prime minister for many years, Ying Zheng still has the support of Wang Jian, Meng Tian, Feng Quji, and others. The civil and military officials of the Manchu dynasty also fully support this matter. And if Ying Zheng were to govern personally, even if LV Buwei did not retreat from his position, his power would inevitably decline significantly. Although Zhao Gao has always obeyed LV Buwei's orders. But how could he be willing to always be subordinate to LV Buwei? And now this is an opportunity. AI is about to rebel, and Ying Zheng is going to take power again. If we seize this opportunity, inform Ying Zheng in advance of the news, and then help him settle this matter. And then using Ying Zheng to overthrow LV Buwei. Tomorrow. Zhao Gao is the one who has the power to dominate the country. Thinking of this, Zhao Gao's words suddenly turned and his eyes fixed on the man in black. There's no need to tell LV Buwei. You should know that AI was recommended by LV Buwei, and it's hard to guarantee that LV Buwei wasn't involved in this matter. This statement came out. One of the 6 sword slaves, Zhen Gang, was completely stunned and looked at Zhao Gao in disbelief. LV Buwei wants to kill Ying Zheng. And what does Mr. Zhao mean by this? Really? Who do you think the future of Daqin belongs to? Zhao Gao suddenly spoke up and asked. Nature belongs to the king, said Zhen Gang without hesitation. Just said this. I just understood Zhao Gao's idea. He is also a smart person, and even when he said, I really wish to listen to Mr. Zhao's arrangement. Although Luo Wang was created by LV Buwei. But the person who truly gathered manpower and held the net was Zhao Gao. Zhen Gang also has a handle in Zhao Gao's hands. Okay. Zhao Gao laughed out loud, tomorrow after, we can go smoothly. He needs to climb up step by step. That position of power leaning towards the court and the wilderness. As for Lu Buwei's counterattack. Zhao Gao is fearless. At least Zhao Gao is also a CRRC commander and one of the 9 prominent officials. For the past 8 years, he has also secretly gathered some forces for his own use. Not necessarily afraid of him, LV Buwei. On the contrary. If we completely turn to Ying at this moment, the tide will naturally rise, and in the future, even the most powerful officials will be as easy as the palm of our hands. However, at this moment, the light and shadow inside the room flickered, and a black patch bloomed before his eyes. That is a person wearing a mask, unable to see his age clearly, and just standing there gives him a momentum. The sun and moon are in a tumultuous state. Even more infinite darkness floated up in his heart, making Zhao Gao's entire body instantly erect. Who is it? How did he get in? Bang! Zhao Gao rolled back without hesitation, wanting to escape. On the side, Zhen Gang's long sword was instantly unsheathed, and the sword in his hand pierced straight into the back of the visitor's heart. Just as he kicked his leg, Zhao Gao felt a flash in front of him. The iron-faced man suddenly disappeared, while his body instantly stiffened in place and could not move. Just because one hand didn't know when it was resting on his shoulder. In an instant, he also avoided the fatal blow from Zhenang. In an instant, the entire room fell silent. You. Zhao Gao was struck by lightning, and his cold sweat brushed down his forehead. He could feel the deathly aura brought to him by Yuan Tiangang, as if he was suffocated by someone tightly gripping his neck. Make him unable to move, dare not move, and even more so, dare not take a breath. Such a terrifying existence is simply not something he can match. Just who is this person? Why did you come here? Is it under LV Buwei's command? Are you Zhao Gao? Yuan Tiangang looked at Zhao Gao indifferently as the Huayang needle, which had transformed into internal energy, kept wandering. Having been in darkness for 300 years, his blood had already turned cold, and apart from loyalty, all other emotions had long been extinguished. Talking to anyone is like talking to a dead person. But this tone and the wandering Huayang needle made Zhao Gao's hair stand on end. He was like being targeted by a wasp, about to be submerged under a poisonous needle in the next moment, not daring to act recklessly. Yes. Your Excellency is. He wants to live. But in the next moment, a cold voice sounded. Let's go. The king summoned you. The next moment. Zhao Gao felt a whirlwind and the wind howling in his ear. Truly intending to obstruct. But he was knocked unconscious in an instant. However, it takes several tens of breath time. Yuan Tiangang brought Zhao Gao's light chariot to the back hall of the Qinian palace with familiarity. Then he directly pressed Zhao Gao in front of Ying and said, King, bring Zhao Gao. Bang! Zhao Gao instantly knelt on the ground. This scene also left Ying slightly stunned. He had originally only asked Yuan Tiangang to appear and intimidate Zhao Gao, bringing him along. But I didn't expect it. Yuan Tiangang is so awesome. Just half a pillar of incense caught Zhao Gao in an instant. Still kneeling on the ground in this posture. This also made Ying realize for the first time who he had summoned. Land Immortal Peak. Bad person Yuan Tiangang. Such strength. Enough to intimidate everything. Even wiping out the entire Qinian palace. Zhao Gao. Ying Zheng looked at Zhao Gao kneeling on the ground with a smile on his face. Chapter 6. Ying Zheng Ba Lai, Zhao Gao be a dog. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Zhao Gao. When Zhao Gao regained his senses, he found himself kneeling on the ground. Upon hearing this, he immediately looked up. But he saw Ying Zheng looking at him with a faint smile. I pay my respects to the king. Just as he finished speaking, Zhao Gao was completely stunned. Not only because there were 5 people in the main hall who had never been seen before. It's even more because of Ying Zheng's aura. What's going on? It's just a half-day absence. Ying Zheng surprisingly made Zhao Gao feel exceptionally majestic and domineering. The strong and majestic aura even reminded Zhao Gao of the former king of Qin Zhaoxiang, Ying Ji. Not to mention, the momentum of Yuan Tiangang and the other Tiangang stars shocked him even more. Land Immortals, Grandmaster Peak. When did the king have such a person by his side? As for Master Qingwei, he appears to have a fairy-like demeanor, but he is ordinary, as if he is just an ordinary old Taoist. But with Yuan Tiangang's previous performance, Zhao Gao would still think that the old Taoist was some ordinary person. Even in Zhao Gao's heart, Ying Zheng was not the same as before. The king is hiding so deep. All along. Everyone thought that Ying Zheng was just a puppet with a heart to resist, but unable to turn back to heaven. But who dares to think, and who can think? Ying Zheng is not just a puppet, but has been secretly accumulating strength. We have also recruited so many skilled players. 4 peak masters and 2 land immortals. The horizontal promotion of such strength among the 6 countries is somewhat exaggerated. But it is enough to control the entire state of Qin. What kind of poison, what LV Buwei, are all a group of clowns destined to be crushed. The civil and military affairs of the Manchu dynasty were all wrong. Ying Zheng is the hidden true dragon. Even Zhao Gao has no eyes. Zhao Gao trembled more and more as he thought, even daring not to delve deeper. Now it seems that Ying Zheng, with his wings full, intended to take advantage of his political prowess and step directly onto the stage. Zhao Gao believed that he had sorted everything out, but his heart was both grateful and fearful. He was grateful that although he had come from both sides before, at least he had not done anything wrong in front of Ying Zheng. What I'm afraid of is that I didn't choose to lean towards LV Buwei and others. Otherwise, Zhao Gao might not have appeared alive in front of Ying Zheng today. And being able to stand in front of Ying Zheng alive is definitely the place where Ying Zheng still has his Zhao Gao useful. Thinking of this, Zhao Gao felt certain in his heart. At this moment, Ying Zheng's words came to his ear. Zhao Gao, do you know what I came to do with you? Although his voice was light, Zhao Gao's heart tightened and he immediately said, the rebellion of Yai. If he thought about it again, with such a deep foundation, Ying Zheng must have been clear about the rebellion of Gao Ai long ago. Upon hearing these words, Ying Zheng immediately burst into laughter. What he wanted was Zhao Gao's words, and he immediately asked, how do you plan to rebel? Zhao Gao immediately said, I would like to inform you, Your Majesty, that all the guards who will be on duty tomorrow will be replaced by his followers. I plan to assassinate Your Majesty in the main hall of the Qinian Palace before tomorrow's political ceremony. An AI followed the example of Empress Dowager Xian and promoted her son to the position of Great King, manipulating all aspects of government. I heard that he had a close relationship with LV Xiang in private, but I haven't figured out his secret yet. Speaking of this, Zhao Gao paused for a moment and then said, Your Majesty, everything I said is true. I had planned to report it to you overnight, but I didn't expect everything to be under your control. Zhao spoke passionately and loudly. If he had expressed his sincerity before for his own ambition. So at this moment, Zhao Gao is completely fearful and submissive. Upon hearing this, Ying Zheng sneered and said, Are you capable of stabbing me in the main hall of the Qinian Palace? I have a lot of skills. In this ancestral land of the great Qin dynasty, I still assassinate myself in my palace. Is this great Qin still the great Qin of a few people? Ying Zheng's gaze turned cold, thinking that it was just a person with extreme fanaticism and rebellion. But now it seems that there are still many people involved. This is Yongqing, not Xianyang. The Qinian palace is guarded by the elite soldiers of the great Qin dynasty, and tomorrow it will be heavily guarded. If Niao wants to assassinate Ying Zheng here, even if Niao is rampant, he must need cooperation from both inside and outside. Upon hearing these words, Zhao Gao trembled all over. Even though I knew it wasn't targeting him, I inexplicably felt a chill in my neck. Tomorrow, I'm afraid blood will flow into a river. At this moment, Ying Zheng's words came to his ear. You have been in charge of the trap for several months, and with your wrist, you must have won over a group of subordinates. Report to the king. Zhao Gao suppressed his surprise and recounted the power of the net he had already mastered. Luo Wang can be said to be the largest and most terrifying dark organization in the world. It is somewhat similar to the combination of the later Jin Yi Wei and the East Factory. Luo Wang weaves an invisible giant net within the seven kingdoms, absorbing a large number of fugitives, wandering swordsmen, and undergoing cruel and bloody training. The sphere of influence is spread throughout the 7 countries, and within each of them, there are claws of a trap. For today's Ying Zheng, what he needs most is to take power, and the first step in taking power is to trap him. Especially when bad people are summoned, how can they develop rapidly without sufficient power support? With Zhao Gao's voice, Ying Zheng quickly mastered the structure of the net and some of its layout. Although not comprehensive, it is still enough for bad people to completely spread out. I believe that with Yuan Tiangang's methods, a wicked person can quickly grow like a snowball and become the sharpest long sword in his hand. Immediately, Ying Zheng gave an indifferent command and said, Zhao Gao, from today on, your trap will have the right to assist Yuan Tiangang. I will build a wicked person outside the net. Zhao Gao's heart tightened. He could hear that although Ying Zheng's words were plain, there was no room for him to question or refuse at all. Moreover, Zhao Gao is not the same Zhao Gao who will turn a deer into a horse in the future. After experiencing such great ups and downs tonight, he doesn't have so much thoughtfulness now. Although still relegated to others and somewhat reluctant to be caught, usefulness is always better than death. Immediately, Zhao Gao obediently said, no. On the side, Yuan Tiangang also said in a deep voice, I will definitely do my best to create a bad person. At this moment, Zhao Gao noticed that Yuan Tiangang's voice was quite weathered. I soon noticed that Yuan Tiangang was gloomy and indifferent, and there was no emotional fluctuation from beginning to end. This person has absolutely held power and is quite cold-blooded. However, Zhao Gao did not reveal his thoughts. Instead, he immediately showed a pleasing and approachable smile on his face, saying, we will work together in the future. Yuan Tiangang nodded at Zhao Gao. Ying Zheng curled his lips and was very satisfied with Zhao Gao's wit. He immediately ordered, Zhao Gao. I'm here. Zhao Gao's expression changed slightly and he immediately agreed. I want you and Yuan Tiangang to thoroughly investigate all the assets, manpower, and party members of AI. Ying Zheng said in a deep voice, the first thing that bad people establish is to clean up the entire Qin dynasty for me, and the first thing is to eliminate AI. Chen, never give up. Zhao Gao's heart raced as he knew it was a test for Ying Zheng. AI is a person of Empress Dowager Zhao Ji. Once I do this, I will inevitably face retaliation from Zhao Ji. If one hesitates due to fear of Zhao Ji's revenge. So it's very likely that I'm not a bad helper. But it's being swallowed up by bad people. Just Zhao Gao had already made up his mind to completely fall for Ying Zheng before this, how could it be repeated? The only difference is. Previously, he turned to Ying Zheng and helped him. Now it's surrendering. There is a huge gap between the two. But Zhao Gao didn't care, on the contrary, his eyes were filled with fanaticism. Ying Zheng hides so deeply, his strength is so strong. So the future holds even greater power. It is even possible to lead the great Qin to unify the 6 states. At that time, his power among Zhao experts will also be astonishing. Zhao Gao solemnly swore in his heart. Whoever dares to obstruct the prince's rule will be killed. Chapter 7. The Establishment of a Bad Person, Royal Privilege. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Obedience. Yuan Tiangang also nodded coldly. In this lifetime, a wicked person will surely display unparalleled sharpness and bless the great Qin for thousands of years. Ying Zheng continued to say. 2 palaces are temporarily selected on the left and right sides of the Qinian palace as the residence for the villains. The palaces on the left and right sides of the Zhangtai Palace in Xianyang City are the yamen for the villains. Bad people are granted royal privileges and will be executed first and reported later. Anyone who dares to obstruct will be executed. If it weren't for the right to execute first and report later, bad people wouldn't necessarily be able to unleash their power. Zhao Gao's face slightly changed when he heard this. Once the villain's establishment is successful, the 3,000 villains' guards will be arranged to settle in as soon as possible, and you will need to control the entire Qinian palace as soon as possible. I want you to make the entire Qinian palace full of me. After taking power, there are still many things that Ying Zheng needs to do, but only unscrupulous people can rely on. A trap can be used, but it is not trustworthy as it is an inherited power. Although Zhao Gao expressed loyalty to him, some things were not easy to arrange for him to do. On the contrary, bad people can act recklessly. Just as soon as these words were spoken, Zhao Gao was once again stunned. 3,000 bad guards. Where did the king get his manpower? He has been in control of the trap for so long, and has never heard of Ying Zheng having so many hands. But Zhao Gao carefully pondered. This is probably the manpower that has been hidden since Ying Zheng ascended the throne, right? How could they quietly assemble a team of 3,000 people? Upon this thought, Zhao Gaodun suddenly felt that Ying Zheng's mind was terrifying. Even somewhat mysterious. Ying Zheng has always been in everyone's sight. But not a single person has been exposed for such a long time, and it was only in the moment before this pro-politics began to be revealed. Hush. Zhao Gao's scalp tingled, but he dared not say much. Let's go down. Ying Zheng waved his hand and gestured, Lu Linxian will stay and take charge of the Qinian palace for me. He doesn't have any thoughts about Lu Linxian. But it was Yuan Tiangang and others who were really eye-catching in this Qinian palace. Very unfavorable for action. On the contrary, it was Lu Linxian, a cardamom girl with a harmless and inconspicuous expression. Ying Zheng also lacks a completely reassuring person around him. I take orders, Lu Linxian said coquettishly, and she wouldn't argue at all. Soon. Yuan Tiangang and Zhao Gaogao all retreated to discuss how to establish a bad person. As they were leaving, Ying Zheng suddenly said to Taoist Qingwei, if there is any turbulence in the Qinian palace, it will be up to Taoist. I obey. Qingwei, the Taoist priest, stroked his beard and smiled. I just realized that there was no strong one in the Qinian palace except for a land immortal, and that land immortal may not easily take action. Land immortals. Ying Zheng frowned slightly and said, who? It should be the first or second hidden heritage of the Qin royal family, said Qingwei Daochang, brushing the dust and closing his eyes as if sensing something. The aura is a bit eerie, not like the righteous path. He should be a person from the demon path. The cultural heritage of the state of Qin. Ying Zheng nodded slightly. This is Yongqing, which is the land of Longqing in the Great Qin dynasty. It is also very normal to have 1 or 2 hidden secrets of the Qin state. Just a demon. This puzzled Ying Zheng a bit, but currently he doesn't want to cut corners. As long as he doesn't come to hinder him, he won't pay attention to these old guys. Let's not pay attention for now. After speaking, Ying Zheng instructed Lu Linxian beside him, Linxian, go and familiarize yourself with the surrounding environment and the responsibilities of the female official. From now on, you will follow me. And he plans to take advantage of tonight's time to get to know Qin well. Even if there are memories of his predecessor, he has just traveled here and there are still many things that need to be familiar with. Moreover, there are still many things that need to be familiarized with immediately as the political ceremony is about to begin tomorrow. As for the matter of the poisonous and harmful people, Ying Zheng did not take it to heart. The establishment of a bad person cannot be obstructed by anyone, because it is his own business and he is about to take power. There is still some power in this regard. As for AI, he is just a small and arrogant person who relies on women to rise to power. Ambition without the strength and wisdom to support it. Even if there is a bit of strength, it is not enough to rely on. In front of Yuan Tiangang, the peak of this land immortal, he is just a waste. Chapter 8. Murder and Might, Evil and Good. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Zhuquan Palace. After Zhao Gao arranged everything for Yuan Tiangang and others, he immediately rushed to the trap. Since Ying Zheng wants to eliminate the plague, the trap must go all out to take action. He is very clear in his heart. Although Ying Zheng did not say anything, if the trap is compared to bad people, there may not be anything wrong with the trap in the future. The value of Zhao Gao in Ying Zheng's eyes is infinitely low. After Zhao Gao left, Uncle Yang and others looked around excitedly and said, I didn't expect we could continue to serve the Grand Marshal and the First Emperor. All of this seemed like a dream. This time, our bad people will surely be famous in the Qin dynasty, and in the future, they will surely be famous for eternity, and even the Great Marshal will be famous for eternity. They were originally people who longed for success and were even more loyal to Yuan Tiangang. Now being summoned, everyone is extremely excited and cherishes the current opportunity. Everyone wants to make achievements and become famous for eternity. Famous for thousands of years. Yuan Tiangang's eyes under the mask did not fluctuate at all. 300 years had already smoothed out his utilitarian heart. What I am thinking now is only to continue the unfinished business of the Tang dynasty and protect the Qin dynasty for thousands of years. At this moment, Lu Yojie suddenly frowned and said, Marshal, the palace here is magnificent and its location is exceptionally prominent. I'm afraid Zhao Gao didn't have any good intentions. It's too high. Profile. You shouldn't be so high. Profile. Bad people are sharp swords in the darkness. Just as the words finished, Yuan Tiangang said, Zhao Gao just wanted to block my villain in the front. Damn it, this person is so cunning. Uncle Yang suddenly cursed, I thought he was trying to please us. In that case, I might as well just swallow the trap and easily get rid of Zhao Gao, that cunning villain. No way, Yuan Tiangang's voice remained faint. The king wants to kill him, he has already killed him. Keeping him will definitely be useful, and we cannot act recklessly. The king has a broad mind for the world, and now it is the time to hire people. We cannot afford to make mistakes. Moreover, Zhao Gao didn't do anything, just put us in the spotlight. Speaking of this, Yuan Tiangang's eyes flickered under his mask and said, this is actually just the right thing. His net is always in the dark, and the villains are in the light. They can never turn over just because it's right. Zhao Gao's trick was simply ridiculous in Yuan Tiangang's eyes. There is even a feeling of being caught off guard. Never engage in infighting to avoid the king's displeasure. If you let me know what little moves you have, don't blame me for being ruthless. Yuan Tiangang knew that these few people were not the kind of people who would make small moves in private, but he had to put his words first. Obedience. Uncle Yang, Lu Yojie, and Wen Tao quickly said. They are both respectful and fearful of Yuan Tiangang, and would rather die than disobey his orders. As a newcomer, we still need to rely on a trap, Yuan Tiangang said in a deep voice. The first thing that the king has instructed us to do is that we must do it well. As he spoke, Yuan Tiangang squinted his eyes and said, the king's intention to directly appoint corrupt officials and grant them the right to execute first and report later is also undisguised. Unveiled. This. Lu Yojia and the others were not stupid. They looked at each other and at the same time thought of the old Taoist in the hall just now. Is that old Taoist strength? Previously, they all noticed the existence of Qingwei Daochang. But no one could see the strength of Taoist Qingwei. But with just a little thought, you can figure it out. How could there be a useless old Taoist on the side of the king? It must be a terrifying presence with terrifying strength. Yuan Tiangang's eyes flashed with a brilliant light. If what was expected was right, that Taoist should be a celestial being, or even the pinnacle of celestial beings. The expression beneath the mask was solemn. He had actually secretly probed before, but those detections had just reached the side of Qingwei Daochang, like a stone sinking into the sea. There is no ripple at all. This made Yuan Tiangang realize in his heart. With the presence of that Taoist, it's enough to suppress everything. We don't have to worry about any accidents at all. The only thing we need to do is to completely control the Qinian palace and not let those who don't look at us disturb the king's personal rule tomorrow. He is very clear about what Zheng is not good at. That is as the sharpest eye and sharpest sword in Zheng's hand, to monitor the world and overcome obstacles for him. At the same time, it also serves as a balance net. In less than a moment, 3,000 bad guards were arranged by Zheng to come over. The arrival of 3,000 people completely lifted the framework of the wicked. It also filled Yang Shuzi and others with confidence. Nowadays, although there are great masters, land immortals, and even heaven and man in this world, there are 3,000 bad guards at the peak of the postnatal world, and with Yuan Tiangang, the peak of the land immortal, apart from the peak of heaven and man, they can almost walk horizontally. And Zhao Gao also quickly returned here. When he saw 3,000 bad guards, he was secretly shocked. Hush! Surprisingly, all of them are acquired peaks, and there are even many innate peaks. Such strength. It's not just an ordinary strength. I really don't know where the king hid them. Zhao Gao was shocked by Zheng's methods, but he also knew what to ask and what not to ask. Immediately, he shared most of the intelligence he knew with Yuan Tiangang. But when he finished speaking, Yuan Tiangang's boldness surprised him. Lord Zhao, now that we have figured it out, let's replace all the guards of the Qinian palace before dawn. In such a hurry, I'm afraid the enemy will jump over the wall. Zhao Gao was somewhat surprised. Now, the guards of the Qinian palace are all from the enemy. If there is a conflict, even the order of Zheng is not so easy to handle. Not to mention, it is true that Zheng is a great king, but Empress Dowager Zhao Ji has not yet returned to politics. These people are more of Empress Dowager Zhao Ji's people than those who are infected with the virus. At that time, it will also be difficult for Empress Dowager Zhao Ji to explain. What should they do if Zhao Ji issues an order as the Empress Dowager? Zhao Gao hesitated for a moment and said, why don't we go find AI first? Yuan Tiangang said with displeasure, the king's order is to investigate the assets and manpower of the bad guys. Such movements cannot be concealed. If the bad guys learn the news, they will not be able to complete the king's order. Moreover, Lord Zhao, what do you think the great king's failure to establish a virtuous person is for? The royal franchise, execute first and report later, is not a child's play. But Zhao Gao hesitated a bit. He wasn't as ruthless and gloomy as he was decades later. Who dares to obstruct, there will be no forgiveness. Yuan Tiangang was too lazy to write to Zhao Gao, lead the way. You are responsible for pointing people. Bad people need to stand firm in Daqin. It's not just about simply having enough strength to kill and gain power. Nowadays, Ying Zheng's personal rule is imminent. The attitude of a bad person represents Ying Zheng's attitude. Their trip is more of Ying Zheng's intention. Clean up the entire Qinian palace. With this command, Yuan Tiangang still doesn't understand what to do, so he is not worthy of being the sword in Ying Zheng's hand. Not worthy of being such a bad handsome person. Chapter 9. Bloody Qinian Palace, the words of the king are Dharma. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. The trap has been rooted in the Great Qin for many years and can be said to be as familiar as the palm of one's hand. Therefore, the intelligence of the trap is extremely accurate. Even though the headquarters of the trap is not in Yongcheng, its efficiency is still astonishing. It is clear from the investigation that those who were coerced, lured, and served by the virus have all been investigated. This directly facilitates the handling of affairs by Yuan Tiangang's villains. The most important thing at present is to control the defensive force of Qinian Palace in our hands. 3,000 wicked people are all mobilized. These people are all the elites among the elites, and their greatest skill is killing. They are all ruthless and ruthless, with a heart full of ruthlessness. I don't want anyone to be amazing, it's up to tonight. Even though Yuan Tiangang is not someone who likes to talk a lot, he still has to say it at this moment. All of you are not good people, they are the wings of the country. For us, the most important thing is to serve as the country's wings and the king's vanguard. Today is the first thing that the king has instructed us to do. We must do it well, show it to the king, show it to the 6 countries, and show everyone that we are not good people. Kill first and report later, with royal authority granted. Any obstruction will be executed immediately without mercy. Yuan Tiangang's domineering and cold words echoed in everyone's ears. With a loud bang, 3,000 people all slapped their swords and stomped their feet, roaring in awe, no. There's no need to say much at all. They already knew what they would face in the future when they joined the bad guys. All the bad people have long known their fate. For the country's wings, for the king's vanguard. A majestic mission, even death has no end. Zhao Gao stood on the side with a shocked expression on his face. Although he was not clear about what a bad person was, he now understood. It's not bad, it's bad for the country. Even though he has a somewhat gloomy temperament, he is still influenced by the emotions of everyone at this moment. A firmness appeared in the eyes. Left and right are just offending Empress Dowager Zhao Ji. But this great Qin is ultimately the great Qin of the great king. If you are indecisive, how can you still gain the favor of the king? Boom! 3,000 unruly people followed Yuan Tiangang and Zhao Gao, and launched a fierce attack on the entire Qinian palace. 3 days ago, gang each brought 500 people. Yuan Tiangang followed Zhao Gao and 1,000 people straight to the palace guard. The palace warden was the one who was bought by the plague. Since we want to control the Qinian palace, we must completely kill it. Soon. They arrived at the place where the commander was located. That leader has been in this position for many years, and his cultivation has reached the peak of his master. After feeling the commotion of the villain, he quickly walked out in armor. When he saw Zhao Gao, he immediately lowered his face and shouted sternly, "Zhao Gao, are you leading troops to break into the palace? Do you want to rebel? Rebellion." Zhao Gao sneered, "The king has an order to have a wicked person take over the guard of the Qinian palace immediately." Bad person. The commander was taken aback and said, "What is that?" But as soon as he finished speaking, the commander continued, "Even if it's the order of the king, how can the matter of guarding the palace go wrong? He is a disciple of AI. Controlling the guards of the Qinian palace is for the convenience of tomorrow's rebellion. How could we hand over our defenses now? The most important thing is when did Ying Zheng the final say in the Qin dynasty. Although the great king has ascended to the throne, the great ruler has not returned it. If you want to replace us, let's wait until tomorrow when he takes power before issuing the decree. Yuan Tiangang looked coldly at all of this and was too lazy to say much. He waved his hand and said, "I don't respect the king's life, kill me." As soon as the words fell, thousands of wicked people rushed forward with their swords drawn. Bold! How dare you take action? The commander didn't even expect these people to dare to take action, and exclaimed in surprise, "Kill them for me." At this moment, he can't care about any plans for tomorrow either. Kill these people first before reporting to Empress Dowager Zhao Ji. But under his command, the guards stood still one by one. But without any hesitation, the kind-hearted man coldly slashed out his long sword. Brush! 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 Blood splattered everywhere, and the head rolled. Special permission from the monarchy, execute first and report later. Those who act recklessly and dare to obstruct will be executed without mercy. Reverse. Reverse you. Even if there is a king's order, what will happen? Who dares to kill me? The commander's eyes widened and he roared angrily. Brush. Yuan Tiangang suddenly took action, demonstrating the peak strength of the land immortals with an effortless wave of his hand. Just a thin ice-blue needle flickered away. The leader's head instantly exploded like a watermelon, splashing red and white all over the ground. No one dares to kill bad people. But if there is obstruction, it will be executed without mercy. After speaking, Yuan Tiangang waved his hand and the tide of bad people rushed up. However, no one dares to obstruct and resist. In just an instant, the bad guys took over the defense here. And such scenes continue to unfold throughout the entire Qinian palace. Kill. It's down. I'll wait for it to come down. We obey the king's orders. But whether it's from the Empress Dowager or from the Qin royal family. Without exception. Anyone who dares to resist will be slaughtered. The hands of AI were mercilessly slaughtered. Nowadays, there are unscrupulous people, so naturally there is no need for those who suffer from malaria to stay. For a while, the Qinian palace was stained with blood everywhere, and there was a bloody crackdown everywhere. Everything is going smoothly and terrifying. This is mainly because the strength of the bad guys is strong enough, and the intelligence of the traps is extremely accurate. Although AI was favored by Zhao Ji, her status was very high. But ultimately, he is just a lucky little person, without any power behind him. He was originally a person of LV Buwei, but after getting along with Zhao Ji, he became too inflated and had already left LV Buwei. Therefore, the takeover of Qinian Palace by bad people is like a horizontal push. At the same time, AI is still unaware of the sudden changes in the Qinian Palace. He has gathered all his followers at this moment and is arranging the specific matters for tomorrow's rebellion. Chapter 10. Plague is rampant, killing kings and kings. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I have already taken control of the defense inside the Qinian Palace. Ying Zheng cannot escape this time. Later, we entered the palace first and killed Ying Zheng before the grand ceremony of his personal rule. These thousands of miles of rivers and mountains belong entirely to me, AI. Those who have made contributions, such as you, are all granted marquises. AI said to his disciples with a wild expression on his face. He now has 3,000 followers under his command. Among these 3,000 disciples, there are also 2 great masters. Even one of the great masters is even the pinnacle of the great master's realm. But at this moment, there are only literary officials in this city of Yong. The highest cultivation is just Feng Quji, the pinnacle of a great master. I can't stop him and 3,000 disciples at all. Although there was a general named Wang Jian guarding Yongcheng. But Wang Jian led the entire army to be stationed 10 miles away from Yongcheng. At this moment, there is not much defensive force in the city. Everyone's gaze was fixed on the outside, ignoring the inside of the city. This is his opportunity. AI will kill Ying Zheng this time, otherwise he will die. He and Zhao Ji already have a son. As long as you kill Ying Zheng, this great Qin will be his son's territory. At the thought of this, AI was even more excited in her heart. At this moment, someone suddenly came outside the door and reported, "Your Highness, the Empress Dowager is here." What is she doing here? Yan Ai looked surprised and asked Zhao Ji, who hurriedly walked in. What are you doing here? Zhao Ji said with a sorrowful expression, "Is it necessary to kill Zheng'er? Let's stop. We can live in Yongqing forever and never return to Xianying again. Zheng'er won't do anything to us. After all, I am his mother." "So what if you're his mother?" AI's tone was cold and stern. "But I'm not his biological father, and he doesn't even want to call me a fake father. If Ying Zheng were to govern personally, the first person to be killed would be me, AI. I have no way out anymore." AI used to think that Zhao Ji was gentle, but now she feels in vain that Zhao Ji is a bit foolish. It's all this time, how could Ying Zheng save his life? Ying Zheng is not his own son. How could they possibly let their family go? Only by killing Ying Zheng can their family truly be safe. Besides, at this moment, all preparations are ready, how could we possibly stop halfway? Stopping now not only means losing one's life, but also losing the vast territory of the entire Great Qin. No, Zheng'er won't do this. As long as I go find him to plead. However, Zhao Ji's words were not finished yet, and AI directly and rudely interrupted her words. That's enough. AI had no interest in listening to Zhao Ji's words and waved his hand directly at the nearby gatekeeper. "Take it down, lock it up, and I'll talk about it when I come back." "Ah." Zhao Ji continued to say something, but was invited down by a group of disciples without hesitation and imprisoned directly. At this point, even if the virus wants to stop, it can't stop. These disciples follow Gao AI for the sake of prosperity and wealth. Now the opportunity is in front of them. All the disciples have already been stimulated by the promise of AI and their eyes have turned red. Whoever stops them is their father slayer. AI also knows these things, but he doesn't care. Anyway, he's just using these people. Tonight we will kill Ying Zheng, and tomorrow everyone will be granted marquises. After speaking, AI led 3,000 disciples to leave with a loud bang. However, they had no idea that the Qinian palace had long been a wolf's nest and tiger's den. The palace behind the Qinian palace is unusually quiet. Ying Zheng has already read through all the memorials and has some concepts about the present-day Great Qin. Both are strong Qin. It's still against Qin. This is now the Great Qin. Even if it's a different world, it's still like in history. After 6 generations of hard work, the foundation of the Great Qin dynasty is already sufficient. With only one hegemon rising and the tumultuous national strength of the Great Qin, it is certain that the 6 kingdoms can be unified. And he, Ying Zheng, is this hegemon. At this moment, Yuan Tiangang walked in and reported, "Your Majesty, I have taken over all the guarding of the Qinian palace." In the Qinian palace, all the arrangements for the Bu AI have been thoroughly cleaned up, and now it is only waiting for interrogation. However, I did not go to the location of the Empress Dowager in the harem. Yuan Tiangang systematically recounted each matter, making Ying Zheng instantly aware of what the villain had done. Organized and meticulous. In just 1 hour, I have fully mastered the Qinian palace. Of course, this is thanks to the efforts of 3,000 wicked people and a trap, but more importantly, it is Yuan Tiangang's decisiveness and cleanliness. Okay. Hurry up the interrogation. When I was in the position of Prince Guzheng, I needed evidence of the crime of Yai. Ying Zheng said calmly, planning to deal with Yai in front of the courtiers in the Prince Guzheng Hall later, and then establish a prestigious court. For 8 years, although there was the name of King Qin, there was no actual name of King Qin. The courtiers will inevitably develop a lazy and contemptuous attitude towards him. But he didn't intend to spend time slowly gathering people's hearts. He is aware of the historical trend and has a system to assist him. He is absolutely capable of unifying the 6 countries and dominating the world in the shortest possible time. He is unwilling to waste time on these trivial matters. Those who follow me prosper, those who oppose me perish. That's all. King, news is coming from the trap. Yuan Tiangang suddenly said, AI is preparing to enter the palace with his followers to assassinate the king. I have ordered my subordinates to allow the Azu disciples to enter the palace directly. I haven't taken any action yet. Assassination. Ying Zheng narrowed his eyes slightly and glanced at Qingwei Daochang on the left, saying, don't pay attention for now. No. Yuan Tiangang followed orders and retreated. However, as he stepped down, he looked up at the Qingwei Taoist next to him. He felt even more certain in his heart. This person must be a master at the level of heaven and humanity. Otherwise, Ying Zheng wouldn't value him so much.